Hey everyone, it's Ryan here. I'm doing my review for game week 3 of the Premier League. I'm going to see if I can get the first matches up. Just get all the... Just give me 1 second, shouldn't be too long. It was an eventful weekend, to say the least. Right, I don't think there was games on Friday, was there? Let's see. It was just Saturday, Sunday, Monday, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. So, sorry, I'm very tired. I tried going back to work again last night after basically being off with like an extension on having COVID. Basically, I developed this chest pain and everything, and I got through a majority of the night, and it literally got to a point where it was literally just a bit too much, and basically had to leave early. And it's like literally, I've woke up today and literally my back is killing and my legs are just about dead. So that's going to be fun when I go shopping later. Anyway, enough about that. So, very first match, Brighton versus Man United. Very eventful to say the least. I'll be honest, I thought Brighton were going to win it. Like they got a penalty. Mapai, whatever you say his name. Mapai, you know who I mean. But basically he scored the penalty and then obviously did this little crying thing to the camera and how that would come back to haunt him later on. Anyway, Man U I think equalised through Rashford. I can't remember if they equalised through a dunk own goal, but it basically at first they thought Maguire had scored, but basically came off the defender. That was like 2 minutes later, and then Rashford I think in the second half made it 2-1. And then a majority of the match, it was literally just Brighton, just all over United. I think that Solly March, I think his name is, he hit the bar. Like I think they said it's like the perfect hat trick of misses. So he basically hit the left post, the right post, and the crossbar. So basically, he was very unlucky. Eventually, he was the one to score in the last minute. Well, what should have been the last minute. It said there was 5 minutes added on, and he literally scored in like the 94th minute. And then, cuts to like 2 minutes later, because obviously like with the celebrations and everything, they sort of added it on. And Man U get a corner. This is like the 96th, 97th minute at this point. Maguire takes a shot and it's headed off the line. I think he heads it actually, and it's headed off the line. But before that, well basically, it's headed off the line, final whistle's blown, Maguire goes mental towards the ref. I'm thinking, what's he got to complain about? Like, it's like, you missed, like it was headed off the line clearly. Turns out, after you blew the final whistle, literally all the players are arguing with each other, and there's a VAR check. And basically, it turns out that Mapai had literally put his hand in the air to punch the ball as Maguire headed it, and it came off his fist. So, yeah, first time this has happened. Basically, the referee sort of cancels the final whistle and basically gives the penalty because it was an incident that happened before the final whistle. But obviously, normally in standard rules, it would just be he would have just blown the whistle anyway, and then they'd have to look back on it like after the match and maybe penalise him that way. But yeah, obviously there's the joke that Fernandes only scores penalties, and it's like there's a new level of him scoring penalties. Is after the final whistle's gone, he still managed to get one. So basically, Fernandes in like essentially the 100th minute of the game scores a penalty to basically win it for United. For me personally, United definitely lucked out against Brighton, and it's so weird saying that, but with like the United over the past 5 years hasn't been great. I think unfortunately it's one of those times where like because of how dominant United were before, and now that the sort of style of play for football has changed, I don't think United's caught up to it, and that's why they're sort of struggling like to even be in the top four, is because they've not adapted well compared to every other team. I think every other team's caught up with them and is now overtaking them, unfortunately. But yeah, like I said, a lot of controversy in that one, and that wasn't the only one for that night. Because later on, like the next match was Everton and Crystal Palace. So I think it starts off with Calvert-Lewin scoring a goal. Crystal Palace getting equalised at one point. I forgot who scored it. I think it's Kouyaté scored. Then I think in the second half, a cross comes in. I think Calvert-Lewin heads it down, and it hits the Crystal Palace player on the hand, but it's like to his side. VAR have to check it and they give the penalty, and then the commentators are constantly for ages just going on about this whole like VAR, and oh no, it was before the first half actually. Going on like the VAR and how sometimes it's unfair, sometimes it's all this. And basically, what happens is he gives the penalty, and then so it's scored. It's 2-1, and then after half time, they bring up this little statistics of like the law for VAR, like for handballs, and it's like a lot of them like intertwine with each other, so it doesn't really make sense. So it's like it's got to be a certain distance away. The arms have to be in unnatural positions. Also, if the arms are above the shoulder, so basically like if they jump like that or like their arms are up like that, then obviously. And then it's like if it hits the like up to here on the shirt, then it's fine because obviously it's like that's your shoulder. You can't really like dislocate your shoulder all the way back to avoid it. But there was one like a few minutes before that where they didn't get a penalty, which to me makes sense. So it sort of does hit him on the arm, but what he's doing is what every defender does, is basically he puts his arms behind him like that. So it's like you can't really like how else are you supposed to like not get a handball if you've literally done that with your arms? And also it's like you're not going to stand there and basically take it in the face or the stomach unprotected, because as it proved to Harry Kane, that fucking hurts. Everton ended up winning 2-1, so it's 3 out of 3 for Everton, so they were top of the table on Saturday. Next match, West Brom versus Chelsea. There's us thinking that, oh, this will be easy for Chelsea. You know, West Brom have already lost twice, so I don't see them doing well. Within half an hour, 3-0 to West Brom. And it's like, literally their new signing, Thiago, had like a disaster in the back. I think like he slipped on the second one, which led to the second goal. And like defensively, he wasn't great. And then they come back in the second half to make it 3-3. And there's a funny post that I saw yesterday, which sort of like it's an interesting thing to look at. So Chelsea have spent £222 million this transfer window on Havertz, Thiago, Werner, the new goalkeeper, and I think there's like a couple of others. And it's 3 of their academy players that they had last season that scored the goals. And to me, it's like, based on how well they did last season, I don't know why Frank Lampard isn't putting more trust in his players, because they did very well last season. Like, if it's like injury stuff, then I get it. But like I said, Tammy Abraham was fine. You got Olivier Giroud. He's proved just how good of a super sub he is. Sometimes when he started, you look at him after lockdown last season, just how well he did for Chelsea when he started and when he didn't start. It just completely threw me off. And it's like, obviously Havertz got an assist, so he's improved over his first match. It made me laugh the way some people reacted to him getting a hat-trick against Barnsley. Like it was this, like, oh, Havertz has now shown his actual true potential. It's like, it's against Barnsley, calm down. I might have said that in the last one, I can't remember. But I'm sure that was like before this match anyway. And then finally, Burnley versus Southampton. The only thing it was an early Ings goal. Kind of wish I put Ings in my team because he scored a goal and he did quite well last season. But I thought Southampton, the first couple of matches didn't do so well. So I was like, maybe like, I was thinking like, oh, maybe it's like one good season, but who knows? It's already been a few games. There wasn't too much to that match, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, like I said, it's like, I think that one I sort of paid least attention to. But like I said, it was only 1-0, so it wasn't too interesting compared to the rest. Going on to Sunday, Sheffield United versus Leeds. Leeds end up winning 1-0. I've only watched the highlights for that, so there's like a couple of good saves in there. I know Leeds' goalkeeper did really well for himself. Ramsdale sort of did alright. I know he conceded one, but he got a couple of saves as well. Tottenham versus Newcastle. This was probably one of the biggest talking points of the night. Afternoon. So Tottenham go 1-0 up through Lucas Moura. What's his name? Darrow, I think it is. Let me have a look. Darlow. Newcastle's goalkeeper. If he didn't get man of the match for that, then like the amount of saves he did, like it should have been like 5-0 Tottenham by half time. But he was excellent all game. It was one of those, like, I feel like it's a commentator's curse. They started talking about how, like, are those chances going to cost them? And it turns out in the very last minute it did. But there's some controversy to it because there's a cross comes in, Carroll heads it down, Dyer's got his arms up, but he's not facing the ball, so he can't see it. And basically he heads it down, it hits him on the arm. Referee goes to look at it on the monitor and gives a penalty. So then Callum Wilson then scores a penalty in like the last minutes, and like it works for me because I've got Wilson in my team, so can't complain too much. But it's one of those things where, like, after the match, Harry Kane goes to have a word with the ref about something, and then I think it's like the goalkeeping coach for Tottenham basically like guides Kane away, and then he says something, don't know what it is, but he says something, and sorry, just give me 1 second. It's got accidentally zoomed in. Just got a quick message. Sorry, it shouldn't be too long. Alright, so yeah, where was I? So they have that. Basically, the goalkeeping coach gets sent off because he said something to the ref. And then, like, I thought they'd sent Kane off. Because, like, basically the red card's, like, aimed towards him, and I wasn't realising the goalkeeping coach was right near him. And, like, we didn't see that. Like, basically in the first thing, like in the first viewing of it, it's Kane saying something to him, they cut away, and then they cut back, and it's the referee giving the red card as Kane's walking off, and I'm thinking, have they just sent Kane off for something? And it turns out it's a goalkeeping coach, so he's fine. Son went off at half-time with apparently an injury, so that's kind of worrying. I was going to put Son in my team because of how well he did in the last game. But we'll like, Jose Mourinho said he's out for a while, so that's not good for Tottenham. They'll have to rely on Kane. Don't know when Bale's going to start, so that might be next week. Oh, yeah. Both Jose Mourinho and Steve Bruce, basically both the managers for both teams, have literally come out and said this whole VAR ruling is ridiculous. Like, how do you give that as a penalty? Like, it's nonsense. Like, I get the law and stuff, but it's literally, they've got to put other perspectives into it. So, like, if Eric Dyer was facing the ball and it happened, then fair enough. But it's the fact that he's, one, jumping up, so he's in a jumping motion, and two, he's not looking at the ball, so he can't see it come and hit him in the arm, so he can't react to it. But again, the only thing you can say is, unfortunately, that's the rules of, like, VAR and handball up until March, which is the next time they meet and can actually do anything about it. So we're basically, unfortunately, just going to have to put up with it. Like, ever since this new season, I think there's been about at least double digits worth of penalties already. There's been like 12. And the next match, there was 3. Ironically, none of them needed VAR checks. It was Man City versus Leicester. And it started off 3 minutes in. There's a corner. It gets headed out. Mahrez blasts it into the top corner. Schmeichel didn't even bother reacting to it because he knew, like, even if I dive for this, it's long past me. Leicester playing with like a 5-4-1 formation, so they were very defensive. I sort of questioned it a bit. I was sort of like, they sort of know that they're not going to get much out of it, so they're looking to defend. Turns out a bit later on, things like 35 minutes or something, Vardy wins a penalty after Kyle Walker grabs him and basically takes him down. Vardy scores a penalty, which was close because Ederson went the right way but just didn't get the ball. And then in the second half, Castagna gets through down the side and passes it into Vardy, and Vardy does what they quoted as a Cruyff dink. So basically, the Cruyff turn is basically when you heel the ball behind you and you turn around with it. And then a dink is just like a little chip up in the air, so basically you just lob the ball up a bit. So basically what happened was he like stuck his heel out and basically hit the back of his heel and went up and over Ederson and in. So that was a really smart goal by Vardy. He then goes to win another penalty, and then scores that one, so he scored a hat-trick. And And then Maddison comes on at some point. I can't remember who. I think he swaps for Vardy or something. Oh no, he doesn't swap for Vardy. He swaps for someone else, probably Pratt or someone. And he scores a really good goal for them. And then a bit later on, Man City get a corner and Ake heads in the ball to make it 4-2. And then Vardy gets subbed off for someone, I'm not sure. And then literally 2 minutes later, Maddison then wins a penalty for Leicester, which Tielemans ends up taking and winning. Well, scoring, even not winning. So Leicester end up winning 5-2, which obviously doesn't look too good for Man City. Also, it's like, it was funny because like Rodri sort of like complained about the way they played football and he doesn't like it. It's like, it's football. You have to play, like you have to adapt to it. It's basically, it's such a shitty excuse as to why they lost. Oh, they played defensively. I don't like that. No. Yeah, it's like, it's tactics, you know. And an interesting fact as well. They showed this. I think when Vardy scored the first penalty, it was showing like who scored the most goals against the, like either Man City or the top 6. I think it was against Man City. And it was funny because the leaderboard was Vardy, I think it was Aubameyang, Messi, and then Salah. Or like basically the funny thing about it is Messi's in that leaderboard. He doesn't play in the Premier League. Like that's how funny it is someone that doesn't even play in the same league as them has scored more goals against Man City than a majority of people that also play in the Premier League. And also, another interesting fact is only 3 people have scored hat-tricks against Pep Guardiola. One of them's Lionel Messi, and the other 2 are Jamie Vardy. So, take it for what you will, but, you know. Yeah, Vardy's on, I think, 5 goals this season now, possibly 6. I think it's just 5. Yeah, good win for Leicester. Took me by surprise after how it went after, like, the first 20 minutes. I was sort of like, oh, this doesn't look good for them. Next thing you know, it's 5-2. And then the next match, this one also took me by surprise. I kind of wish I captained Vardy for it. I captained Jimenez thinking, oh, it's West Ham, it'll be fine. West Ham haven't been doing well. West Ham then go and win 4-0. It's like, maybe a coincidence that David Moyes wasn't there. Maybe that's why they won. Like, maybe Mark Noble was being acting manager or something. Maybe that's why it worked. I don't know. But it's just so weird where it's like if it couldn't get any worse with them, they don't have their manager and they don't have 2 of their players. And then they go and beat Wolves, who, like, I thought, like, even with all the signings, would have been a very solid team. Like, I don't know what's happened to Wolves. Like, maybe whatever they had mid-week didn't help them at all. But, yeah, I captained Jimenez, and unfortunately, he got an own goal as well. So, basically, I got double 0 points. Whereas I could have got double 23 points for Vardy. Might have even been 26. So, that was fun. But yeah, like I said, that massively took me by surprise that Wolves did not, like, 1 didn't even win, 2 didn't even score, and 3 got their asses kicked by West Ham. Like, I thought West Ham would, like, done for this season. Like, basically their team is just falling apart. Like, the way, like, fans and people are just reacting to the owners of them, you think it's just going to go into some massive meltdown. But yeah, they seem to be doing alright. I guess they just had a slow start, but they seem to be doing alright for themselves. And then yesterday's games, there was 2. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch them because I was at work. I've watched the highlights for them. Aston Villa, they beat Fulham 3-0, so it's another loss for Fulham. Like I said, I don't think Fulham are going to do too well this season, I'm afraid. But I wish they would, but like I said, 3 games, 3 losses, it's not a good look for them, and 2 of them being 3-0. Yeah, Aston Villa off a good start. Martinez, again, doing very good for Aston Villa. Kept a couple of goals out. I watched the saves of the week they put out, and he had a really good save against them. And then the following match was Liverpool versus Arsenal. I know at one point Arsenal went ahead through Lacazette after Andy Robertson sort of messed up a clearance. I thought it was going to be one of those things where it's like Liverpool's defence starting to crack again. Sort of like with last week and then the match against Leeds as well. Well, actually, I think they were fine last week against Chelsea, but the week before they were definitely having issues. And obviously, towards the end of last season, they're having issues too. But Liverpool come back to make it 3-1. Jota gets his debut goal after coming on as basically Liverpool Premier League debut goal, because he played against Luton midweek, but he didn't score. Apparently there was some controversy about handball. I've looked at the picture and basically it hits Jota there, and they're like, oh, how can you not say it's a handball? It's like you look at the way he's got his arm, it's natural, so that's just how it works. I think it's just going to be one of those things where people try and, sort of like last season, where they go, this one was a handball against this team, but against Liverpool it was fine. Which last season there was a lot of that. Like some of them you can literally go, yeah, that should have been a handball, but wasn't. I don't get why it wasn't. But like with the Jota one, it wasn't. But yeah, Liverpool again 3 for 3. Leicester 3 for 3. Everton 3 for 3. Leicester lead the table based on goal difference, and then I think Everton are second, possibly. Might be Liverpool, I'm not sure. I'll have a look at the table, just to make sure. Man City and Man U are like 13th and 15th, if I remember correctly. Let me just get the standings. But basically, they have the advantage. They've only played 2 games. Also, Aston Villa are 2 for 2. They've only played 2 games as well. So they're 4th currently. So it's Leicester with a goal difference of 8. Liverpool and Everton have a goal difference of 5. Aston Villa have a goal difference of 4. Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Leeds have also won twice. Tottenham, Chelsea and Newcastle have 4 points. West Ham, Brighton, Manchester City, Manchester United, Southampton, Wolves all have 3. But Man City and Man United do have an extra game. West Brom got 1 point. Burnley, Sheffield United and Fulham are all on 0 points, but Burnley have an extra game as well. So, who knows? But yeah, like I said, it's not looking good for Sheffield United or Fulham. It's such a shame for Sheffield United considering how well they did last season. Like I said before, I think they are missing players like Dean Henderson and basically just defensively, they're not as strong as they used to be. I don't think like Ramsdale was a good enough replacement for Henderson. And so like it bugs me as well that Man U aren't giving Henderson a chance in the Premier League, considering the 2 games that Man U have had, De Gea's conceded 5. It's not a good look, you know. But it's one of those things, unfortunately, where because it's De Gea, he'll basically stay in because of his name. And Henderson gets chances in the cup matches, but I'd rather see him in the Premier League actually prove his worth. Yeah, that's pretty much my review for the week. A lot of VAR controversy in a few of the matches. A lot of penalties this weekend as well. I think that's just going to be a regular occurrence. It's just a lot more penalties now. We think players might try and look for penalties. I think next weekend it's just Saturday, Sunday games, which is nice. I'm looking forward to them. But yeah, this has been my review for game week 3 of the Premier League. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of the video. And I will be back next week for game week 4.